Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for after church tea time. I hope you guys enjoyed the service. My name is Kanisha Marie Moore Castillo, and I'm going to let everyone else introduce themselves this morning.
Hello, my name is Stephanie.
Hi, my name is Morgan.
And so I absolutely love today's service by Danny and Christina. These are things that I'm definitely moving through these last few weeks on how to really bring together my life purpose and my life all together to where I'm not separating them. My personal ascension coach, Chrissy, had pointed out to me a few weeks ago that I was kind of still hiding in what we call like the twin flame closet, where I wasn't really sharing all that I was doing in my life, especially with those outside of the community. And so the last couple of weeks, I've really been working on just unifying them and being able to share myself wherever God asks me to. It's in our opening and closing prayers to really share where God asks us to share. And so I find that more recently, when I'm guided to share myself in that space with those who aren't quite in the community, that I've been received, and it's allowed me to open up more loving communication to where I can share more about twin flames and life purpose work, and really choosing God as your priority as you move through life, instead of going to work, coming home, let's do twin flame stuff, and then start all over again. So I really loved how they shared to really just understand that you're always doing things with God, that you're never doing it separately, and how to really release that separation consciousness in every area of your life.
Yeah, that's really juicy. And I'm so happy that you started off by talking about this, because this is such an important piece that I think I took a lot of time to learn. I had for a very long time on my life purpose journey and living in like a truly coming into union with service and healing that relationship within me. I absolutely compartmentalized, it's even a hard word to say, compartmentalized parts of my life. But what I did actually was something like a little bit different even, is I almost like abandoned whole parts of my life. Kind of like what Danny and Christina talked about in the sermon today, is like, don't live your life and put your purpose first, like your career first before all else. There's that balance of God first, then you, then your twin flame, then life purpose. And that was a huge lesson that I had to learn, because I absolutely burned myself out. And I had like this tower moment, this huge like career shaking tower moment in my life, where I really got had to get clear on like, where was I really abandoning parts of myself, right? And for me, it was that foundational piece. And it was through the teachings, through Jeff and Shaleia, that like helped me see like, oh my gosh, I'm totally abandoning myself in my home. Like everything in my life purpose was flying, like high flying and doing really well. And it felt so juicy. It felt so good. But I couldn't deny, after I got to a certain level, that there were other parts of my life that weren't growing at all, that weren't expanding at all, that weren't changing, that weren't healing. And it's because I had chosen separation from them instead of integrating all of myself. So that's kind of what I've been healing, is, going into that part that I kind of ignored for so long and chose separation from, and in a lot of ways abandoned myself in that space. And I've just been, learning how to live my life in that space. And that's like what, Danny and Christina talked about, like even Chrissy, they mentioned Chrissy, buying the right sheets to support you in your life purpose, right? If God asks you to eat that ice cream because it's part of like self-care, do that thing. That's where I had completely abandoned myself. And so getting to know this part of myself has been really juicy. And I feel like just now I've finally been able to bring them two together and start to really experience a super juicy, more harmonious life purpose, where I, step into my service work and I feel so energized and given to. So I wanted to share that. I'm sure I'll share more later on, but I wanted to share that part with what I've been healing lately in regards to this. Yeah, super juicy.
Thanks, Stephanie. That was great. And you as well, Kanisha. I've also been moving through um, similar blocks as well in my life purpose. Like I recently just started a new job that's really directed in my life purpose. So it's really been for me making like the adjustment and really seeing it as like service to God and working for God. And I think Christina mentioned like seeing not seeing your job as like your source, excuse me, which is how the world usually does, and seeing yeah, like your job is your only foundation instead of God. And so that's something that I really am grateful for life purpose class in this work, so I can see it that way. And it actually feels a lot better. It makes me feel like, you know, I don't have to attach myself to a job outside of me. I can just, you know, always do it with God, which is another thing that Christina mentioned. That is actually really, really well. But I do see a block where I feel like sometimes I do choose separation as far as life purpose and I guess personal life, or just finding a balance with even self-care. Like sometimes I'll like go without eating, or I'll like skip lunch or something like that. And like that's just something that I just have to bring more awareness to. That I noticed that I was doing. Like I'd be hungry during the day, but like I have so much work to do, so I'm just gonna keep working. And that's like I think Christina mentioned, like taking from yourself. And so yeah, like definitely putting God and then you first, and then simple is like just making sure you're eating correctly. And I think Danny mentioned having like a set schedule. So those are like some things they pointed out that was really, really relevant to me in that aspect. And I'm really, really happy in my job and life purpose. But I think for me, like I said, I'm just trying to find a balance in just simple as like scheduling when I eat during the day, so that I can not feel like, you know, I'm get moody, you know, when you know you don't eat and things like that, and it just doesn't feel good. And so my work is going to reflect that, obviously. So yeah, that's one thing that really, really stood out for me. But yeah, also, I really, really do feel like everyone should do their life purpose and or take the steps to find out what your life purpose is, because it does give you a sense of peace. It does give you a sense of purpose. And so, yeah, just seeing God in it and seeing like, wow, God is really leading me, and he's really here with me, and I'm doing this as in service to and for God. And yeah, and it just feels better to look at it that way than to attach yourself to a job. I think society is like, you know, well, they're paying me, so, you know, I have to sell my soul to this job. And, you know, if they fire me, oh my God, I'll just be devastated. But for me, I really have been seeing it differently because of this work. And so, yeah, that's really, really important that Danny and Christina touched on. And then, you know, also just in general with twin flames and your union, like doing service and purpose work is the main point um, of, you know, being with your twin flame. I think Jeff and Shaleia talk about all the time, like there's really no point in being with your twin flame if you're not going to obviously do your purpose. And whether you're with them or not, like you still should move towards that and do it, because it's just about you and God ultimately. So
Yeah, I love that. As you were talking, one of the things that came up was like having jobs that like take from you, or having to take from yourself to provide for that job. And in life purpose class, Jeff always says like, I'm not telling you to go quit your job. Like you need money to survive. You need to take care of yourself in that way. Like do not abandon your finances. However, really look at certain places that are asking for you to like take from yourself. And for me, I had been self-employed for like the last 8 to 9 years, and I was getting to this place where I really desired a more income, and I really desire different streams of income, and how to really balance that and flow. And so I started looking for jobs because my schedule really opened up for me to be able to do that. And I made sure to write a love list of what I truly desired in a job. And I recommend that you write a love list for anything and everything. And so I did that, and I applied for quite a few jobs, and then I just wasn't finding anything that just felt just right. And so I surrendered it to God. And one day I was guided to go look, and I came across a professional photography job that I applied to. And when I went in to do the interviews, there's 4 interviews, and one of the first things that they said was, this is a two-way relationship. We want to make sure that this is a great fit for you, but this is also a great fit for us. And that was something that was on my love list, is that I wanted to make sure that there was going to be an equal give and take. And just a lot of the things that really unfolded was, one of the things that I said was, how can we keep you, because you have so much value, and we want to make sure that we honor your value. And their core values completely aligned with mine. They even had a moment where they're like, if you are having they even use the word upset, like if you're even having like an upset or something comes up, like what do you need to be able to take care of yourself? And I was like 5-10 minutes ago, do the mirror exercise. And then I got to share the mirror exercise with the owner, and they're like, wow, that's beautiful, like I love that you do that. But they really shared with me, like, their value is to service their clients and to love them completely, is what she said. And I was just like, oh, this is divine, this is perfect. And the more that I spent time with the owner and his wife, the more that I was like, wow, I'm like 99% sure that they're twin flames. They've been married for almost 30 years. They do their life purpose together. They love serving God. They love serving their community. They love their employees, and they always make sure that the workspace is giving back to their employees, so their employees can fully give back to them. And it was the first job that I ever received where I wasn't tired and drained when I left there. And I actually get to be my complete self and share myself and share the work that I do with Twin Flames Universe, and with the Church of Union, and not feel like they're looking at me like, what is she talking about? Like, what is she saying here? And so I was really grateful to work with God in that space and just share with God what I needed. Of course, he always knows what we need before we do. But to have him show up for me in that space and to really provide for me. And that right there let me truly know that, like, I'm never ever doing any of this alone. If something ever doesn't feel right, I just go to God for it, instead of trying to go outside of myself to change it or to shift it. And really recognizing too that when I was having an upset with my twin flame, I was also having an upset somewhere in my life purpose. And so I was able to always just focus on my life purpose and move through that. And then it seemed to kind of shift in my union as well. But really having to see how it would all unfold in each area of my life. Like I said, if you're having an upset in one part of your life, it's also showing up in every other part of your life too. And so it's never separate, and you're always able to just move into that space with love and just truly heal it in that space, so that you can heal in every aspect as well.
Yeah. Morgan, did you want to say something?
Oh,
I was
you can
going
go
to
ahead first.
I was going to transition into another topic if you wanted to comment on what Kenisha had said.
Oh, yeah, I did want to chime in just a few minutes.
Go for it. Yeah, absolutely.
Alrighty, thank you. So yeah, to kind of piggyback off of what Kanisha was saying, I guess over this last, I say, year, I've really been like building my foundation in my life purpose, like with God. Like last year, around COVID, I was working like at a restaurant as a server, and I was just really miserable, and I hadn't found this work yet. And so once I started actually watching Life Purpose class, it really, really helped me get more clear on like what I actually wanted to do. And so I ended up moving across state. I lived in Michigan, and then I moved to Maryland. And I did that just listening and like following God. And I decided to go to graduate school. And so once I made that choice and that decision, that really, really let me know that like God is really always giving you your next piece and your life purpose and always what you need. And so I've been in grad school for a year now, and then I recently got a new job in my field, which is human resources. And so between those two, like working on my master's degree and then working as now I'm an HR consultant for a consulting firm, I just feel so much better, like compared to obviously when I was working like as a restaurant server. But I mean, even then, I think Christina mentioned like always seeing it as being of service. And then she mentioned another thing about your job like taking from you. And I really do feel like, you know, working as a restaurant server in comparison to like working in HR, which I believe is my true life purpose, that job was definitely taking from me, for sure. And I can just tell the difference in the work that I do now in comparison to then. And so, yeah, it's also just, I was mentioning like just building that foundation with God, like within a matter of months, I went from like that to where I am now. And that's like nothing but God. And so, yeah, he's always showing you your next piece, like I said, and helping you build that foundation. And so that also like helped me heal a lot of finance blocks as well, because now I have a consistent income in comparison to what I was making as a server to that. And I know Jeff and Shaleia talk about like that's, you know, your wealth as well is tied into your life purpose. And obviously your source is always God. But yeah, as you do your life purpose, like you should choose to be wealthy in that aspect as well. So it's definitely helped me, like I said, heal like finance blocks as well. And it just feels so much better just overall in my life to really just see it as me serving God and just doing what I love, because God just gives you like that natural passion for it. And I think Christina mentioned that as well. So where it doesn't really feel like work. My parents always tease me. They're like, you're always studying, you're always working. Like I literally like sit in front of the computer all day and I'm like always doing something with my job or with school. And like I could just do it all day and I don't feel like drained or tired. And I just have that stamina. And it's not hard for me to do that. And I have like a dedication and a commitment to it. And there are, like Danny mentioned, like you will have upsets and blocks, of course, to move through, but you know, doing your life purpose in comparison to a job that's like taking from you is such a huge difference. And you know, I'm glad I experienced that contrast. And like Jeff and Shaleia always talk about, you get tired of like experiencing contrast, you just make a new choice. And so that was like part of me moving to go to grad school and to just make that choice and just love myself and know that like I deserve to have, you know, amazing life purpose, an amazing career. And that's my foundation, you know, for myself and also for my union. And so, yeah, I chose that. And it was really good for me to do. And I just can't thank God enough for making that choice with him. And, you know, having that faith that he was gonna provide for me in my life purpose, because I was jobless for a while. And so I made the love list like Kanisha talked about, and everything that I have in this job, I wrote down in my love list. And so it's like, wow, God really listens to you. He really does give you your desires. And it's just such a great feeling.
Can we just take a moment and say like congratulations, because both Morgan and Kanisha, like, you know, getting these new jobs and working through so much. Like as you guys shared your story, like I don't think like I just wanted to take a moment to kind of like value, like to recognize you for all the work that you've done, because I don't think a lot of people see how much work goes into transitions like this, and how big of a choice that is. I mean, truly, it's just a choice, right? So it is easy. It's just a choice, but it's a big change. It's a choice at the same time, you know. And it's not easy to face your blocks around your life purpose. It's not, because, you know, just like they mentioned in the sermon, and then Morgan, you brought it up too, like, even if you do find your life purpose, even if you finally do start stepping into that space and committing to that, it's not going to be rainbows and butterflies right away, right? Like you earn that, like you, and I don't mean you earn that like with your tears and like blood, but I mean like what you talked about, Morgan, is like blocks come up. You face, and Christina talked about this, you face the past hurts from when you were out of alignment with your life purpose, or when you were being taken from, and all those feelings do come up. And it's about choosing love and being with God in those moments to move through them, so that you can level up to the next level and create that life purpose experience for yourself that is super like in the flow and does energize you, because it may not feel like that right away. Same thing with your twin flame journey. Even when you're with your true twin flame, may not feel like fantastic right away, right? You have to work through the blocks to get there, and you do that with God. And you're, like Kanisha said, you're never alone. And I loved what you said, Morgan. And it was actually perfect, because that's what I was wanting to transition into, was like that expansion energy, right? Like both of you, there's such an expansion energy happening in your life purposes right now. And myself included, but I'm especially emotionally expanding. I feel a lot of emotional expansion and deeper joy in mine, not necessarily physical changes like you two are experiencing, just, fantastic. But when you're in a job that takes from you, there's no energy to, there's no foundation, obviously, but there's no energy to expand. There's no expansion. You can't possibly expand anything. You can't grow. You're kind of just stuck, and you either stay in the same place emotionally or physically, financially, and never change. You never grow. Or like in your career itself, like you kind of get stuck in the same place in your career and nothing ever changes. And that doesn't feel good. Danny talked about that in the sermon. That doesn't feel good. And so like we want to be building an expansion of joy in our purpose and our service work, not misery. And so in order to do that, we do need to find where we're taking from ourselves to give to the job, to put the job first before us, right? First before God, for wherever we're not putting ourselves as that priority and not valuing our energy. I actually wrote that as a note in my little note here when I was watching the sermons: value yourself and your energy. And thinking back to, I was a teacher, a preschool and kindergarten teacher for a year and a half. And I remember like that was when I had the most contrast on my life purpose journey, I feel like, because I put the company, I put everyone else first before myself. And I realized because I did not choose to value myself in that experience, and I put their value higher than mine, they never valued me because I never valued me. And so I was drained dry, completely dry, and was constantly getting sick, was always in pain. My physical health started to decline. I needed a lot of extra medical support, like from, I was living in Asia, so I was going to a traditional Chinese medicine doctor. So it required so much more financial support to support myself and being taken from too. And almost had to kind of get myself like stimulated, like coffees and things like that, just to be able to show up and give quality work. None of that is in my life purpose at all. I could wake up feeling tired and like maybe moving through some upheaval now in my life, living my life purpose, come into a session, and even 10, 15 minutes before a session, I already feel the energy flowing through me. God has already provided even before I am in the session itself, before I even physically show up. I'm already energetically showing up. And I leave every session feeling energized and light, and I dance around the house and I have so much fun. And this is not something that I could have ever believed was real 5 years ago before I started life purpose class. There's no way, because every day I would go into work feeling good and leave it needing to go to sleep and eat my feelings away from food, find something to fill me back up, basically, because I felt depleted. And so like, yes, it's real, it's true. Your life purpose really does fill you up. It really does feel good. Even if you're not there yet, that's okay. Keep working through your upsets and your blocks that come up. And you can do that with, the mirror exercise that we talked about, And Jeff and Shalea's work teach you through Life Purpose class exactly how to do that. But it's real and it's for you. It's for everybody. And I always I'm like a big cheerleader in the background when people start transitioning and saying like, I deserve more, like I'm valuable. And they start making those choices and transitions in their life. Like I'm just over there clapping because I remember myself at that time, and man, oh man, what a courageous choice and steps forward. Yeah. So I just wanted to add that.
Oh, that was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah, I love that a lot. It's really like once you start to really truly see your value, the world has to mirror that back to your reality has to mirror that back to you. And that was something that I really had to like get clear on. Was we were talking about like sometimes your life purpose brings you here and then it brings you here, and then all of a sudden you understand like the skills and the things that you took in by exploring these different areas, like how it really unfolds in the bigger picture. Jeff talked about how like he's definitely he went to school for like business and he's in the business aspect, and then Shaleia did more of like the spiritual work, inner work, and when they brought it together, they created this huge, beautiful school for all of us. And I had to recognize that too with like this new job. I was like, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. And then when they told me exactly what my job was, I was like, oh, these are all of the skills that I've already picked up, but a part of me desired to expand deeper into them. And I just didn't know how. And then I was given that opportunity. And so it was really having to just trust that God was going to lead you exactly where you needed to be. He's just going to give you the next step. You don't have to know the big picture, but the more that you choose to trust and just follow, the more you start to see the bigger picture. And really being able to just completely have faith in where you're being led to.
Yeah, that's huge. Having faith to where you're being led, because when we are going through that process of discovering ourselves and our life purpose, because like, you know, Danny and Christine talked about like in the world, meaning like in the way that we were all taught and grew up in, and culturally how to live a life and, you know, have your job. They don't teach you about finding your life purpose, or that, you know, there is a divine plan, or that you are created to be of service in a certain way. And so when you start making that choice for yourself, what I've noticed for myself, like just like you talked about, Kanisha, there's so many things God leads you into where you're like, I'm not really sure why or what yet, but I know it feels right. I know it feels good. God's saying yes here. My heart is saying yes here. And I just need to release control and you know, dive in essentially, and learn the lesson that's here for me. And you know, when it's complete, it's complete. And again, releasing control of when that is too. And God will always guide you deeper into your life purpose. And that's something that for a long time, I was like, I did some public health work, and I knew that's where I went for my background, my degrees in public health. And I knew somewhere it was something around that. Like I love health so much. And I was like, health is my purpose. And then that led me into teaching English as a second language in a foreign country. And that felt so good. But what does that have to do with health? Like, what does that have anything to do with my original thing? But it felt so good. And so I needed to, like, God was so clearly guiding me into this space. So I just needed to surrender and have fun and love it completely until it was complete. And then I moved forward, and then I started my twin flame journey. I started my awakening and moving through all of those experiences. And I became a coach. And now I understand why I was a teacher and in health, because I teach people the basics. In a way, as an Ascension coach, I'm definitely a teacher, but I teach people how to be healthy at a soul level. And so I learned all of these skills that at the core were all part of my love list, just like you shared, Kanisha. I just didn't know that at the time. And now, like, my full life purpose is being revealed to me step by step when I'm ready and when it's time. And and I love the way that Christina, I believe it was Christina who said, like, you don't need to know the end result. You just need to know the next step, and you just need to be present with that and allow yourself to be led through that. And if one day you complete that and God brings you to something else, follow that. That's okay. And I think Jeff and Shaleia modeled this perfectly. Of course, they didn't go do something else, but God brought them into like divine gaming, like building a video game. That's so different than being like a, spiritual teacher. You would think logically that it's so different, but actually at the core, it's exactly the same values, and the same thing is happening, right? Reaching people's hearts and teaching them love and joy and healing them. It's the same thing. And so you have to do it with God. Like, you really can't do it any other way. And
So what
and
you're
that's what we
saying
need.
is that we're already living our life purpose. We don't have to like go find it. We're already
Ding,
living
ding,
it.
ding, ding,
I
ding,
love
ding.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. And also because, part of living, and Morgan, you talked about this too, like learning the lesson, and you're working on this yourself, is like learning when you need to self-care and have that balance of, you time and like home time and your work, and learning how to put that all into union within your lifestyle, in your life purpose. That's why when Danny and Christina talked about how sometimes maybe just buying that nice set of sheets for your bed, right? Or like eating that ice cream cone, that's part of your life purpose right now. Like that's what God's asking you to do, because it's supporting you in giving more, in service, in expanding. So of course that's part of your purpose and service work, when you serve yourself in that space the way that God guides. And so it's like, I love that like perfect circular almost vortex that is forever expanding. And again, it's just so different than what what I was raised learning, and what I learned in school, and from culture, and in the American culture. I did live in New York for a little bit too, for about 2.5 years. And oh man, is that the epitome of putting your life purpose first. They are masters at life purpose in New York. Holy moly. But you pay $2,000 for a studio apartment with like no stove. So you can't even support yourself in that. So it was like really an awakening of, I got to see the contrast of what it looks like to make that choice to put your life purpose above everything, above even yourself, and how it can, that even though you get the gratification, and like it does feel good because you're serving and you're doing the thing that you love to do. So absolutely feels good. It is taking from you in some place, and it does hinder from your actual expansion and growth. I honestly believe this, that it really slows down like humanity's expansion, because we don't know how to actually fully, we're already doing so many great things as a humanity, like in the purpose work and service, like all these cool, electronics, and look what, Elon Musk is literally building a rocket to go to space. Like that's pretty cool. Like we're doing some really cool stuff. But just imagine if everyone knew how to fully support themselves so they can be at 100% every day. If they were truly living their life purpose the right way, this world would be completely different. We would be living in heaven. And that's what Danny and Christina, I believe, mean when they say to not live in the world in that space, but to live your life purpose and essentially create your heaven for you, and expand that out and share that with others. And that's what our whole community is doing, and what we support each other in doing. So yeah, like here's to our heaven on earth, where we give 3,000% every day because we simply can, and because we're all rested and joyful and doing what we love. It feels good. Here's to that reality. That's what I choose for myself and for all.
One thing I wanted to mention before we wrap up here is, like kind of going off what you said, Stephanie, like having faith in your life purpose. I think that's very, very important. When I mentioned about me working as the restaurant server, there were times I would go in the bathroom and cry during shift. just because I was mad at God, and I didn't understand, like, why am I here? Like, why do you have me like serving food basically, and I was very clear like on my life purpose at the time. And I had just graduated college and I couldn't really find a job. So that was just like something I did to make extra money. But it was such a humbling experience. It was so contrasting. And I would cry all the time. And I worked so many hours and it really was taking from me. But I said all that to say that, like, you just have to kind of love it all the way through, um, because there's a reason like God will have you in those kind of like contrast, experiencing those contrasting experiences, and it's not to like, God's not being mean to you, obviously, but you know, it's so that you can know that when He does bring you out of it, that it is Him, and you can give Him, you know, all of the glory, because it's really, really important to not like see yourself as the source. Or like Kanisha mentioned, like you're always with God and you're doing it with God. And so me moving from like Michigan to Maryland, no job, that's like nothing but God. And we're having a job like that. And then to the job I have now, like I can't give anyone else those props, and besides God. And so yeah, He does bring you through those kind of experiences, and they don't last forever, but at the time you feel like they will. um but yeah, like definitely having faith and just knowing that like God's not going to abandon me here. And I just had to tell myself, like, I'm not gonna retire here. Like, I literally worked there like maybe 6 months, but it felt like 6 years at the time. And so that's just one of the things that I wanted to kind of mention as like a last note, is to have faith and know that like if you're working, um, I don't want to say a shitty job, but if you're working a job that's not your life purpose, it's not going to last forever, but there is a reason that you're there. And one thing I took from that job, I look back on it now and I'm like, I was getting ready to serve, and that's what I do now in my job. And so it's just about serving people and loving them, even no matter what job duties you're doing. And so I had to see that more clear before I actually could move on from that job. And Stephanie, you mentioned like learning the lesson. And so it was a lesson there for me, and it wasn't like the worst job in the world. I just thought it was for me. But yeah, that's just one thing I wanted to mention, is just having faith.
Yeah, I also wanted to touch on what Stephanie said about um like not being taught on we're not taught to like live our life purpose. And like our parents' generation, it was like you go to work, you work a 9 to 5. Sometimes people work 12 hours a day, and then they would come home and they had nothing to give to their family besides this income. And I'm a single mom, and one of the things that was really important for me, that I was recognizing as my children knock on my door. 1 second. I'm in class. 1 second. Was that I was not able to give back to my kids. I was always in a really bad mood. I just was not being able to love them completely in this space. But once I made the choice to really heal these places in my life purpose and truly like love myself completely here, they have a mom. They have a mom that is not numbed out. They have a mom who's able to help them move through their feelings. They have a mom who's able to encourage them to go after their dreams and their goals, and then how to show them how to do that. And that's one of the things that's really important to me. Also, as an Ascension coach, I'm finding that I'm really attracting people who are moving through the same thing and teaching them how to do that. And in the long run, we are changing generations because of that, because parents are able to fully show up for their families instead of just going to work and showing up financially. And so that has been really important to me to really understand that, yes, my life purpose is also a mom, and how to help other parents be able to show up completely for their children and God's children in that way. And so that's been really important for me to really learn, because I was just like, why do I have to go through this and do this single-handedly? And then I finally came to the realization that I was not like a single mom in a sense. Like I'm a mom with God, and he's always providing for me in every way that I need, and that my twin flame will move in that way too. And so that I could just surrender to that and have complete faith. It's always coming back to having complete faith. And so, yeah, that was really important for me to share, because I know that there are quite a few single parents in the community who are trying to figure out how to balance all of it, because it seems very overwhelming. But really, God has you taken care of. And if you just choose to surrender and do it with him, he will always show up for you.
What a beautiful way to end our tea time today. Very good.
Thank you. You both feeling complete? Wonderful. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's after church tea time. We would love for you to just check out some of our other content at our Church of Union page on YouTube, and make sure to like and subscribe. And we will see you guys next week. Thank you.